Gotta make sure I share screen. Okay, so for this week, we are going to do our lab 1, and it's very short. It's really easy. I know some of you already got started. If you finish today, like I said, you can upload it and submit it. But if you want a little bit more time, it's not due until the end of the week, which is Sunday. We won't have class next Monday, so I will go through and grade your assignments, and then we will hold Unit 2 for when we come back from the holiday. So there are other tools that you can purchase if you're using Linux or OpenOffice. You can also use, or LibreOffice, I should say. There is tool and packages that you can download. So if you use a Chromebook or something that has feature for you to draw a network, but everything can be clouded. And the cool thing about using Cloud Tool is that it saves your file. However, if you're using the free edition, it only allows you to draw like a few topology. After that, you're gonna have to pay, right? Because they have to maintain your storage. So the first tool that we're gonna use, you can click the link and you can go to Lucidchart. Okay, and it's gonna take you to this page, right? If you want to use make a free diagram, likely that you're gonna have to have a credential. So you can use Google, Microsoft, or your Slack account to do that. So, and as long as you have access to a way to verify that's who you are. So making sure that when you select this option, right, and enter the information, you're able to access this account to click verify your access. So if I click this option, right, it's going to take me to my account because I previously have to do this. So what you can do is you can also use a different tier type of subscription. We can try it for free, right? And then we would be able to sign, but you shouldn't have to do this actually.
Actually, just when I just signed up with my student email,
Uh-huh.
it actually automatically made it an education account.
Right. So if you use your student email, which is better than your Google or your whatever account, then you should be able to do that. And it should tell you, it should say, welcome to educational access for Lucidchart.
Don't do it through the Microsoft sign on. Just
Type
in your
sign up and then type in your RCCD. Right. If you click sign up and type in your RCCD email, your student email, that's a better way to get your free access through the education account. But if you click the Microsoft one, sometimes it's going to want you to put in the credit card information and all of that. So
ask you for why you need access to this.
Right. So that's a good point. So once we have account verified, right? What you can do is this quicker way to really create it. You can also search for a template. People have created network diagram and have shared it with you. So what you can do is you can click on templates on the lower left. Right? And you can search for it. So I can say network. And then I can pick the ones that I want to start with. So basically it gives you already a foundation to be able to do that. So again, I simply click templates. And then on the top, I just search for network, right, as the search term. And it's going to give me all the template example. Now, you don't have to start with a template. You can create a blank canvas and then you would be able to do that. The reason why I do a template is it's going to bring in all the tools that I need, like all the shapes that I need to draw my network. So you can choose. So once I log into my account, right? If you want a blank new canvas, you just click new here. But I normally start with templates. And then on the top, I search for network. Now, keep in mind that this changes from time to time the way that they create the site. So a year from now, it might look a little bit different, but template should always be there. So my instruction has changed over the time, but start with template, search for network, and then you can go through and you can pick. So let's say that I want to do like this diagram. I want to use this diagram. I can use this diagram. So the task, the instruction for us here is you are going to draw your home network, right? If you start with the template, if you choose the template, you can take away or add to that drawing, right? I don't want you to have to start from scratch, but you can build on something that is already pre-made. So think about your home network, and your home network is different than my home network, right? So let's say that I would, let me see if I can pick, I will do this one. I will pick the Cisco one, right? And then I just click use template. And then if it prompts you that, you're just going to create a document because I have multiple in there saying that I'm maxed out with my. So what it does is it's going to load the drawing here for me, right? And on here on the left, right, you can have your shapes. And then you can also go down to the bottom and you can also find additional shapes. So if something is not there, you can also search for it. You can also bring in your own shape if you have created your own shape. So this, because I chose Cisco, it's going to bring in all the Cisco based shape, right? So, but you already have a wireless access point, which is what I have at home, right? I have a laptop, and normally we would label this, right, with a system name or an IP address, okay? So my challenge for you is to go home and find your IP address, right? You guys know how to do that? Some of you are like, yes, that's easy. Okay, on Windows environment, we're going to do CMD for command prompt, right? And yeah, IP config, right? For our system. And this is going on to YouTube, but I'm gonna maybe, I usually don't edit, but anyway, here we go, right? So it's gonna tell you your IP address here, okay? And then if you want your system name, you type in host name as the prompt, okay? So when we draw, we have to think about how can we distinguish one computer to the next computer, right? So we can find an IP address by typing in IP config on Windows system. And the IP address is located here, right? Remember what I said about the gateway? That's your router address right here, or my router address, right? So I would challenge you when you go home, you can refine your drawing by adding in the label, okay? So here we can change this, right? You can erase this and type in your IP address or your system name. And the way that you connect, at the top, there's line. Normally we use the dashes for wireless, right? So how do I connect my laptop to my wireless router? Okay, what you can do is you can see these little toggle point, right? You can select your line and then you can just connect it. Let me see if I can do that. Yeah. So it does, see how I draw the line and I can just connect it to the circular dot. There you go. Then, so it needs to be represented that way. I know I'm going to take attendance shortly. I have to pause pretty soon. Questions? Okay. Now, if you want to delete the actual, because I don't have the regular router, click on it and press the backspace or the delete button on your keyboard, right? Backspace is going to delete, and you can delete the lines and appropriate. So like right here, click on it, press backspace, and there you go. Now, if you don't have a firewall, you can also delete that, right? And delete all the objects with it. It's really easy. Now, if you want to draw and you want to add another laptop, just drag it in. if you can find like other things like workstation or whatever, just drag it in and connect it. So I want you to draw your home network. Now, if it doesn't let you download, make sure that you can screenshot. There's ways that we can screenshot. Some of you, I've received student, they just take a picture on their phone. That's fine. But you can use Snippet on the computer. And then you click new and you just drag it. And so that way you have a picture. But I want a complete diagram, okay? If you have a gaming system, I want to see it. If you have a printer, I want you to add to your home network. You need to make sure that you can do this well because this is one of the skill sets that's demanded for both area, IT and security, able to interpret network topology design along with redesigning a network. So you have to be able to draw this. Question is, what is the switch? The switch right here, right? So this is a system that connect all the computers together, like where you're sitting, right? So like earlier, you know how we looked it up online? So you might not have a switch at home, so you just delete it, okay? But in a business environment, like a school like this, the switch connects your roles and your computers and your roles together. Okay, any question?
Yeah, so at home I have like a mesh Wi-Fi system. Would I just represent that as multiple wireless access points? Okay.
Yeah, if you do that. Some of you have more advanced networks than other home networks, sure. I love to see it, right? So if you have a bridge, a way, if you have something that controls security, that's, yeah, I want to see. Yes. Yeah, ideally in a real drawing, a logical drawing, right? We want to see where the data goes from point A to point B. So yeah, you need to label it, either with system name or IP address, right? You simply click the label, or you can also use the text box option up there. You see at the top right here, right? So if you click the label, it shows the T, but you can also click, you know, how you want your text, the size of your text. You can also bold your text, right? You can also draw a text box and add in your label. So, and then sometimes they want you to label like, you know, the segment, right? What part of the network and so on. So I want you to get into the practice of doing that. Okay, so connection lines, again, is at the top right here. Okay, sorry, I'm gonna pause this real quick because I need to do attendance before some. So when we go through, after you do the drawing, right, make sure we answer the questions, what kind of wireless router that you use. The reason why I put this question is many of you are new in this area, so I want to make sure that you're familiar with the type of equipment that you have. How many devices are connected with an Ethernet cable? So if you have your PC, your printer, things like that, make sure that you account for them, right? The most important part is in networking is we also do regular inventory. In security, inventory is important because how you connect and what you connect can make and break you, right? Because, and then we want to make sure, so make sure you do inventory of your system, how you connect, and then how many devices are connected wirelessly. So if you have your smartphone, your tablet, your laptop, some household is more than others, right? Even your smartwatch. And so, you know, you guys know what's the limit for your wireless devices? How many devices can you have? A lot, right? How many? More than 10. So think about a wireless router, right? Tomorrow, let's say that you came across a pot of money and you want to buy a bunch of different systems. Can you connect them all? Remember, it's a single point, right? So everything is funneled through that point. The more you connect, the slower it is. But you can connect to 127, 125, ideally, right? Yeah, right, not bad. But with the AC, that's not bad. So you can go through and you can configure. But like I said, the more you put on, because it's going through that one single point, because it's a star topology, right? You're gonna draw a star topology, it's gonna slow down. It's kind of like everybody going to that exit. right? Everybody hopping on that same freeway, that's gonna be slow. So take a look at your wireless and then the type of operating system installed on your devices, Android OS, Mac OS, etc. You know, Windows for the PC. So this is like preview to what you see if you take me for ethical hacking or other classes. These are the information that we normally trying to dig out, right? What kind of systems is connected? How are they connected? What's, you know, when we footprint the system, we're looking at the OSs and what kind of things, the services that it has on it. So make sure that you put that. Any question?
What type of wireless things?
I'm sorry?
What kind of thing?
What type of wireless router is used in some network?
Yeah, like the brand. If you have like, you know, if you look on your system, it will say the model number. So on the label, and if you're not sure, you can also go to your service provider website and they'll tell you. Yeah. Normally, I know some service provider, they would contract to like Motorola or whatever systems. You know, so you can find it there. Now, some networks like myself, I would have your, yeah, you're welcome, your service provider and then another system that's connected to that. Sometimes you would have like, you don't have this all in one system, you might have multiple systems that's connected to be able to obtain your service. So, you know, it depends on the type of package that you have. Second, right? So I have a lot of students only submit exercise one, they're gonna get half of the credit, but make sure that you do part B. So once you do your home network, you can modify it and save it as a second file or change it. So this, let's say that this is a small business that hires you to draw their network, right? So you're gonna start with your template if you want. You're gonna add a regular router, not a wireless router. So on the shapes, when you're looking at the template, right? Right here, search for, so, you know, there's different shape options. And so if you look, you would be able to find the type that you want. So find a router, okay? You're gonna add that to your drawing. And then you are gonna add 2 switches, right? Remember we took away the switch earlier. So this is an unmanaged switch. It doesn't matter. And you don't have to put in the IP address because this is potential network, right? If you want to label it, you can also come up with a way that we can name the systems. Like, you know, switch A, switch B, switch 1, switch 2, switch HQ, etc. Right? And then you're gonna add 2 laptops and 2 mobile devices. It could be a tablet, a smartphone. So you might want to look for more shape if you're using Cisco or if you use the other template, you'll be able to find. So I don't care which mobile devices that you want to add. I want to make sure you know how to add it. Because a lot of companies have bring your own devices to work and you have to draw that into your logical topology. Understand? And then we're going to add 2 printers. So these are going to be physically connected. So you have to connect this one with a cable. These are going to be wirelessly connected. So you use the dashes line. These are going to be connecting with an Ethernet cable. So a solid line for this one. So how do I know what to connect? If you add a switch, so let me go back over here. I think I have some. So here's my router. Let's replace that, right? And then what I'm going to do is I can go to the diagram. And then I think you can also search for it. It's pinning. I don't want an AB switch though. Okay, so here's the switch. Okay. And Cisco, sometimes they will give you the model number. It doesn't matter. I think at this level, you just want. So the switch needs to connect to the router and the system needs to connect to the switch to route from the system to the outside world. Understand? Okay. So you're gonna connect these two together, okay? And this system to the switch port, okay? Could be a workstation, it doesn't have to be a, so let's say, like this, like that. Okay, now if I want to wirelessly connect this laptop, what do I need to do? Is my switch wireless? No, right? How do I connect it wirelessly? Think about that. How do I connect wirelessly these laptops? What if it doesn't have an Ethernet port? My laptop doesn't have an Ethernet port. What do I need to add to the switch to connect wirelessly? An AP.
Yeah, wireless AP.
Yeah, add a wireless AP. So throw an AP connecting it to the switch and connect the laptop to it. Right? Understand? So you have to accommodate the wireless side if it's not wireless. That's my point. Okay? It might not be in inventory because sometimes business do that. They say, oh, build me a network, right? Here's my stuff. Okay. If you want wireless connection, give me something wireless. So add an access point, connect an AP to the switch and connect the laptop wirelessly to it, right? You have to configure that, right? Is that understandable? Okay. All right. So now let's go back and look at this list. So it tells you that you have these laptops and these mobile devices. I don't mind if you add an access point to your switch. Now, at this point, if you want to connect to the network, you have to cable connect it. Who has a cable for a tablet, right? So you're gonna probably have to add an access point, and that happens. You have to make changes to your network to accommodate the wireless technology. You're gonna add the printers. Some printers, if you can't find a copier, you can add, you can use the printer icon or shape because some printers have copiers. You're gonna put in some IP phones, right? So voice over IP phones, and then one server. Okay. So the server system, sometimes the shape looks different. So make sure that you have all of these connected. Now, the phones. So how do I connect the phones? Do I connect it to? Do I connect it like I connect the computer? Sure. Right? You are going to connect it back to the switch. Now, depending on the switch, like I mentioned before, it has to be a voice over IP switch, a layer 4 switch or better. But in this drawing, we might not care about that. This switch might be a layer 4 switch already, right? So if you're connecting your workstation to your switch and your laptop to a wireless device is connected to your switch. So your switch becomes what? The hub of the star, right? The central point. Now it's going to be a point-to-point connection to the router. So you have to draw a line to connect this. So this guy is going to be, this router is going to be something that's going to bring the traffic into the switch and it gets distributed to all the systems. So your phone needs to be connected to the switch. So those who left early and they don't watch this part of the video, they're going to have to figure that out, right? Because, so your switch is going to be managed and it has to be controlling all of these devices along with the wireless component. Okay. Now, from the security perspective, what do you say? Single point of failure. If I attack the switch, it's done. Right? The network's toast. Okay. Also, vulnerability when you open up the wireless side, that's that opens up the rest of it. But in small business, this is what you see. They have one single appliance, they connect everything to it. And then we have to build security around it. Okay. All right. So I want you to understand that so that way, when you walk into a network, you know how to subtract or how to add to it. Yes, question?
I'm just noticing the diagram isn't including a firewall. Should we include that or?
Sure.
I'm thinking the same thing.
Yeah, if you have security in mind, you can implement a firewall, you can recommend a firewall. Because nowadays you can't do without a firewall. So yeah, you can add a firewall to it.
Okay.
sometimes a firewall can be built within the appliance itself, right? If you get something that's, you know, all in one appliance, sometimes it has that feature. And you see this with your wireless router at home. You already have a firewall feature in it. Okay. So, any questions? All right. Second part, this is another option for you. So you can use one or the other or both, right? I don't care which one you use. This one is a little bit more user friendly. So the instruction is there and it does have more shape accommodation to what you draw. So everybody have their own preference in how you draw. So if you click on the link, right? And it, you know, you might have to, you know, sign up and log into it just like the other one. And you're going to search for network diagram if it doesn't come up. So it's going to pull the package. So you're going to start make a network. And it's going to load your shapes and your canvas. It does have some template, but normally this one, it gives you a blank option and then all the shapes that you want. So all you have to do is drag and drop it. So, you know, like we talked about earlier, if you want a telephone, you can drop it in there if you want, you know. So you might have to search for the shape that you need to find. Okay, like a computer, you can put it in there. And then the way that you connect is you have to use the arrow shape to be able to connect it. You can also draw, like freehand draw it. And then you can add text by just doing a text box like this and then type, like for example, 10.0, oops, 1. Let's say 111, like your IP address, like that. And you can use arbitrary IP address as long as you have it in the same subnet if you already know that. But I'm not going to require that. You can also label using hostname. Okay. And then the way that you draw your line is using this arrow, right? So the way that they do a half duplex is a single arrow, a full duplex is a double line. So that means that you can send and receive for a full duplex. A half duplex is like you can only send. Some system can only send, like for broadcast, and some system can send and receive. But at this point, I don't really care too much about which shape you use. So you can just use the line and be able to connect those together. Okay. So you can use the second tool or the first tool, that's up to you. Okay. And then go through and answer these questions. Did you add any more devices? So I did put down, right? What's wired, what's wireless. So you can put in like if you add a firewall, if you add AP access point, what kind of layout did you draw? So I'm going to compare, right? Your layout might not be the same as the next student, even though I give you the same inventory list, right? Because the way that you see a network is slightly different. And you're going to see that, right? Did you use a star? Did you make a mesh? Did you make a hybrid, which is a mix of both? So how did you draw it? So I wanted to see that. And how can you add more to the network, right? Can you add more wireless things to the network? And then describe how access point should be connected to the existing network. So if they want to add 20 more workstations, likely that you're going to have to add another switch. Ideally, I would recommend it for this. Because then you have redundancy. So one is going to handle maybe all the workstations, the PCs. Second, the other one that we can also isolate the wireless network. So, you know, so give your recommendation here on how you want to scale out this network, because this is the job for network engineering. You know that I'm doing this to give you, that's an engineering job, the network engineering job. It's to look at a network and how we can grow from that network, how we can add more things to it. So now you know how to do that. Okay? Any questions?
CompTIA Network Plus exam, where I have the 2 performance-based questions built in the network.
They might have you look at a topology like a box, a ring, star. You know, it's exactly like it's me, right? But in you know, my experience, right, in the industry, 99% of the time, the network engineers is their job, right? So if you aspire to be, I make really good money too. Less headaches than security engineer. But a lot of the time you see network engineer becoming security engineers because they understand the infrastructure very well. But, so if that's what you want to do, right, it's really design networks, scale networks, and be able to give feedback to the administrator on how you should design or operate the network. And, you know, and you can go from network technician to an engineer quickly, too, in a lot of places. So this is one of the skill sets. So once you do this, you can put that on your resume, ability to design, right, network topology. And then when they interview, you can say, hey, I use Lucid Chart or this to be able to draw, you know, add, subtract, scale, and network. So there you go. Okay. All right. So once you're done, submit that onto Canvas. And if you need help, right, come in. I'm gonna try to be in here on Thursday night for office hours. This room is not used. But the other days, right before class, a lot of the other classes are in here, so I'm not able to come in early anymore. But if you need help, or you can send me an email for questions if you need. Okay. All right, that's all she wrote for today.
That's it.
Yep.